that. And for this, let me welcome on board Rishi Vora, who is the analyst of Kotak Institutional Equities, joining us on the show right now. Hi, Rishi. Good to be speaking with you yet again, and thank you so much for your time. And firstly, let me have your take on the two-wheeler counters, because the latest concern for the two-wheeler stocks rather that is coming in, wherein reports suggest that the Transport Ministry may approve the ABS anti-lock braking systems in two-wheelers from calendar year 2026. Firstly, help us with your take. Has this been a long-standing demand from the industry, or the timing is a bit of a surprise?
Yeah, good morning, Srishti. So if you look at the ABS norms, it already existed in above 125cc two-wheeler segment since last 5 years. Now, if you look at globally, these are not the norms which are, there at least globally below 125cc. So if it happens, it will be the first kind of a rule that will get implemented for the two-wheeler sector. Now, at least from an OEM perspective, obviously that is something which they won't be appreciating, given that there will be a decent cost increase, which will again have some detrimental impact on the overall demand. So at least from a OEM perspective, I think they will kind of, at least suggest to the government that, this is something which can again further, create a headwind for the sector, and they will kind of, at least try to delay this. And obviously, from a government perspective, it's more about safety. In the news article also, government had shared that almost 44% of the road accidents involve two-wheelers. So it's more to keep safety of the riders in mind, and hence they are going for some stringent safety norms for the two-wheeler segment. So yeah, it's negative for the demand perspective, but yeah, from a consumer perspective, obviously the government is focusing more on the safety aspects.
Can auto companies take a price hike? Whatever the incremental cost is just loaded up on the product, can that happen?
See, eventually when, last time in 2020, when this norm, like for above 125cc happened, there was, let's say, anywhere between 4,000 to 8,000 price increase depending on single channel or dual channel ABS. And over time, they passed it on. Now, again, if this rule get implemented, then there will be anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 cost increase as per estimates, which is roughly 5% of the vehicle ex-showroom price. So over time, they will be able to pass it on, but obviously it might have some impact on demand, at least in the near term when this happens.
Rishi, if they take a price hike, how much do you think that could affect demand? And if they don't take a price hike, how much do you think that could affect the financials of these companies?
Sure. So as I discussed, right, 3,000 to 5,000 is the approximate cost increase that will happen. So assuming that they pass it on in one go, a 5% cost increase in the entry level segment, 110, 125cc motorcycle segment, our expectation is that there can be anywhere between 5 to 7% decline in that address in the segment which gets impacted. So yeah, it's a decent. It's a good amount of headwind which the sector will have to face, and we have to keep that in mind that if you look at the domestic two-wheeler market in 2025, FY 2025, the industry volumes ended at around 20 million, which is still below the pre-COVID peak. So it's not like the two-wheeler industry has surpassed the pre-COVID peak, and which is again another challenge. So this can be a incremental headwind. In terms of if they decide to take a hit and not pass it on to the customers, each company will obviously have a different impact given what part of their portfolio gets impacted. As per our analysis, Hero is the most impacted, Hero MotoCorp, with almost 94% of their portfolio will go through a cost increase, followed by TVS, which is almost around 64-65%. So over there, if they don't pass it on, there can be an impact of anywhere between, let's say, 50 to 100 basis points on their margins.
Other point is that, look, this is a norm, and if somebody wants to buy a three-wheeler, you will have to buy these new norms. It's like wearing a seat belt, wear it or pay a challan. So why will demand get impacted? Because for those who want to buy a two-wheeler, it's a need-based product. In a need-based product, if a safety measure has been announced, that is something which is compulsory. So why should this impact demand just because there is 3,000 rupees of additional load up? I mean, is this market that sensitive?
Yeah, it is, right? And again, see, OEMs will have to comply with this norms if it comes into effect, and then there will be obviously a cost increase that will happen. So, as I told you, a 5% cost increase on a price sensitive segment, it does have a detrimental impact on on demand. So to that extent, yes, there will be some immediate impact. Over time, it will get absorbed, but it might take a year or 1.5 years before things start to normalize.
While we're talking about how the players who will be impacted by this new ABS mechanism, they will be in focus. But what about the other side of the spectrum, the players who operate in the ABS supply chain band? How will they be impacted by this news? So will it be very incremental?
Sure. See, obviously Bosch is the largest player in this, let's say in terms of market share within ABS. But again, that's an unlisted entity, not a listed one. The ABS part sits in the unlisted entity. Beyond that, there is Continental and Endurance Technology. So yeah, among the listed name, one of the major beneficiary would be Endurance Technologies. They roughly have around 10 to 15% market share right now in the ABS market. If this norm comes through, our assessment is that the ABS market in India will almost increase by fivefold. From almost roughly 2,000 crores today, it can go to a 5x growth over the coming years. So obviously, even if we assume Endurance Technologies maintaining a similar kind of market share, obviously it's going to be a decent tailwind for them in terms of demand uptake.
All right, Rishi, that's about the ABS norm implementation. But this is as per reports, and the implementation still have some time left for that. But the other concerning factor for the auto space right now is the whole shortage related to the rare earth magnet issue. You have been talking to a lot of these companies, I believe, as well as suppliers, and what the companies have told us in some last 2 weeks or so, they have been saying that they have the stocks only till July and August to last with. Give us your latest sense that how do you see the situation right now, and how do you see this situation is getting worrisome at the moment?
Sure. So again, as things stand today, none of the suppliers, OEMs have gotten approval, from Chinese government to start for them lifting the restrictions on rare earth material. So it continues to remain a lingering issue for the sector. Now, obviously, some OEMs have, or some suppliers have 2 months, 3 months of inventory. Some have, let's say, a month of inventory. So, within months' time, we will start seeing issues or let's say production challenges, production cuts pertaining to the shortage of rare earth materials. I think the first sector in general which will get it would be EVs. Because the motor uses permanent magnets, and that is a very direct impact, and the dependence on China is extremely high over there. So I think the EV sector will get impacted first hand. So obviously all the companies, some earlier, some later, but all the companies which do cater to EV segment will eventually get impacted. The good thing at least is that once the approvals, whenever it comes through, the magnets can be, or rare earth materials can be airlifted, and the production can, you can restart the production within 1 to 2 days. So that's a good thing that, there is no, let's say, freight related time wastage that will happen once the approval comes through. But yeah, right now, obviously, everybody is discussing with, Indian government. Indian government is trying to, get in touch with China and, try to resolve this issue. But yeah, obviously, that is something that needs to be watched out over next 1 to 2 months. And if it doesn't get resolved, then we will see some production cuts starting with the EV segment, and maybe then it can flow through to the ICE passenger vehicle segment as well. But yeah, that will take at least a couple more months.
We have discussed a lot of those factors which could hit the auto counters, and especially the two-wheeler stocks. But given the fact, Rishi, that most of these two-wheeler companies have corrected anywhere between 30 to 40% in the past 1 year, anything that is looking attractive to you purely on the valuation front, not just from two-wheeler, you can go on and include the passenger vehicle and the tractor companies as well?
Sure. We have seen some bit of correction, especially after the festive last year, and it's predominantly because of very sharp deceleration in demand. First half of FY25, domestic two-wheeler was growing somewhere, low teens, and then suddenly the industry growth, came down to a flattish number, and obviously that kind of resulted in, a negative surprise overall. In terms of what we like, we continue to prefer a passenger vehicle segment over two-wheelers. as we believe it's still on the two-wheeler side, valuations are expensive and the industry growth would be lower than what Street is expecting at this point in time. Within passenger vehicle, our preferred pack is Mahindra and Mahindra, Hyundai Motors, and Maruti Suzuki.
Rishi, appreciate your time. So glad you could join us. I'm just going to mark the markets. The gains are intact. 45 minutes into trade, Bank Nifty is up 1%. Sensex 760 points.